Okay, I will welcome everyone to the Plan Commission meeting, and we're starting the meeting at 6:30. I'm assuming that this meeting has been noticed according to regulations.
Yes, the meeting has been posted and noticed according to law.
Okay, great. So then the next item on the agenda is approval of the last meeting minutes. Anyone have a motion to approve minutes or
I'll make a
any
motion to-
amendments?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Yeah, okay. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I abstained because I wasn't at the meeting. So,
So 4-0 with one abstention from Kate Flynn Post.
okay, item number 3, discussion and possible consideration of the 2024 Plan Commission Annual Report.
I can pull it up on your screen as well if you'd like, but it is in your packet. We had a pretty light calendar last year, just based on my availability to do other things, and then also in recognition of the adoption of the commercial zoning code, which did remove a lot of the more minor conditional use permits. That was a typical review of yours. So we did have a lighter year. So if you'd like to review it, let me know. Otherwise, I would leave discussion back over to you. I can pull it up if necessary. So let me just get to it here. Sorry. So we convened 4 meetings. We reviewed and approved the parking special exception to allow outdoor patio at 4044 North Oakland Avenue, Camp Bar, for those unfamiliar with the address. We did provide a recommendation to the village board to modify the commercial zoning code to allow office uses in the MX district under limited circumstances. That was the application of blanking on Phyllis Brostoff. And then item 4, we provided a recommendation to the village board to update the village's floodplain regulations as drafted by the DNR and required by by FEMA. So we did have, some items of substance, but once again, we had just less meetings just in general, just based on, as I mentioned, my availability for initiatives and then the adoption of the commercial zoning update the year before.
Is there any discussion? Okay, then we can take a motion to approve the plan. I'm sorry, the report.
I'll motion to approve.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
Work for
Okay.
me. Yes, thank you very much.
All right. Item number 4, discussion and possible consideration of the Plan Commission future initiatives.
So once again, this is part of our annual process with the village board to identify activities that volunteer committees would like to work on throughout the year. The commercial zoning update was the most recent one that the Plan Commission spearheaded. As I mentioned, this year I've been working with the Parks and Public Spaces Committee on the bike ped plan. That is expected to wrap up in February, which will make me available for more projects for this committee, other committees that I am a liaison for. In the past, we have identified increased housing opportunities in the zoning code as our primary next goal. That would include a discussion of accessory dwelling units, other things like co-housing, et cetera. It's all on the table at that point. And so that was your number 1 last year, followed by home occupations. That was a discussion that came up within the pandemic, just to confirm that our regulations make sense for, the modern times. And then lastly, there was a discussion, I believe last year, about reviewing or updating our notice requirements to include tenants. Right now, we only notice property owners. Our GIS system does not have the capability of easily switching that over to tenants. So if we were to do that, it would require some work on the back end of things, just because we don't store unit numbers within our system. We have the main property address, but if you live in an apartment, for example, we don't have units, 1 through 40 in there. So it would require some work in the back end. It's not doable, but it's not as easy as it sounded, perhaps. So those are the 3 that we have on file. I'm here to hear discussion about confirming those, reprioritizing them, adding them. The village board is set to hear these in the spring. I believe Community and Business Relations Committee is actually going to review them at their next meeting on February 3rd. So perhaps timely that we just reconfirm what we want to resubmit this year.
Any discussion or questions?
I like our priorities.
Agree?
Number two, a real issue.
It's not an issue. I mean, in
Well-
my mind, it's not an issue. If it ever becomes enforced, it is an issue because, for example, I believe Barbara actually pointed out that I think the regulations right now don't allow you to work past 10 PM in your house. But as someone who works on a computer, what does the village have to care about that? So it's not an issue because we're not asked to enforce it, but it is kind of outdated with respect to what it says on the books.
Also limited to one.
Just it's outdated.
Little
It get
outdated.
updated. It's just
Yeah,
not that-
there was a issue of someone wanted to cut hair in their house that wasn't allowed. So there are things that perhaps could be expanded to be home occupations that are currently prohibited.
I have a question. Would the items then be prioritized as presented, or is this something that you're asking for to help you to
So
prioritize?
this is what I would submit in this priority order, that we would work on housing opportunities first, home occupations, and then the tenant notice. It's not to say that we couldn't do multiple, but just in terms of what you want to send to the board, I would do like a preference of what you think is the most important.
Their topics. This was the list that we generated more than a year.
Right.
Yeah, this has been a long-standing list, so I think actually we've checked off things more than we've added things. So we've checked off things and not replaced, new ideas. So now would be the time to do that, or throughout the year, as I mentioned, that review update notice requirements came within a meeting where someone, pinged it as a future item. So as we go through the year, if we see things, or if things, we can always add them, for the next submission. But like as I said, these will be submitted to the board for their February 3rd meeting for contemplation this spring as they budget throughout next year. So I do anticipate housing opportunities to be selected. So I'm already preparing myself for, once the bike ped plan is wrapped up, to introduce that topic to you all for introductory discussion.
And along with that, do you envision a community engagement campaign? Like, is it similar to the commercial zoning update project in terms of the scale, the scope of it?
I mean, I think it's less in scale and scope, but it
Mhm.
it always will have a community involvement aspect whenever you're changing regulations to, residential districts, that we definitely do need to provide the board with some level of public engagement for their consideration when they, look to adopt or modify or whatnot. So yes, there will be, like I said, an introductory discussion, at which point I would confirm the scope and breadth of that engagement effort, whether it's, surveys, events, et cetera.
Okay, thank you. Did we move to approve this plan as presented? Anyone?
No, I'm fine with this, so I'll make a motion to approve this.
Is
I'll second it.
all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Okay, thank you. Item number 5, future agenda items.
I don't have any. As I mentioned, the initiatives will be discussed by the village board, at which point I do project that will be placed on my to-do list. And so I don't think that we'll have months without meeting again. So I would look for a meeting in the near future to perhaps start that discussion. So other than that, I don't have anything as an application on my desk or as a future initiative pending for your participation.
Okay, does anyone have anything else? Okay, so then I'd suggest that we adjourn the meeting unless anyone has an objection. Okay, meeting adjourned at 6:40. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Record.
Close. But technically, did you need I had to take all this great training.